history where two best friends try their best. I know y'all didn't hear it, but we had a heck of a time starting this episode.
Our recording is more than 7 minutes in at this point.
So tune in May when we post our blooper reel to hear what that was about.
In short, our brains are not functional, so good luck everybody else, I guess.
I have stretched myself just a hair too thin this week. Just a hair. To put it into perspective, on Sunday, we are recording on, what day is this? Wednesday?
Yes, it's Wednesday.
Okay, so we have guests coming in this weekend, right? From Florida. What do I decide to do last weekend?
I didn't even put those dots together.
I'm not okay, guys. I look at my kitchen ceiling and I think, fuck that knockdown texture. And on Saturday, I mud the entire kitchen ceiling to smooth out the texture. And then Sunday, I sand the entire kitchen ceiling. And then Monday, while working a job, I mud it again. And then Tuesday, I sand it again and prime it. And now we're here on Wednesday. I had to finish up. Plus, I had work events and things. Morgan saw me try to get into my Jeep in a pencil skirt and heels. And my Jeep is lifted, y'all. It wasn't a pretty sight. I was making noises that shouldn't come out of somebody. And speaking of outfits, I was, of course, because, you know, I'm out of a kitchen. I'm trying to get this thing done as fast as possible because for the first time since we moved into this house, I had to order pizza because I couldn't use my kitchen. It was awful. So I'm running out of clothes because I don't want to ruin my good clothes. So I find some old Goodwill pants and a old ratty t-shirt, and I put my hair up in a hat, and then I realized I want to tuck my shirt in to keep all the stuff from going in. And then I'm like, well, the pants are falling, so I put a belt on. And then I looked in the mirror and realized I'm my dad.
You're just now realizing you are your father.
Picture. Look at your phone. Oh my God. I literally look like my dad. That is the daddest outfit. I sent that to a friend and she was like, if I saw you at a Home Depot, your wife better watch out. Like,
oh,
yeah.
Oh, just a chip off the old block there.
I'm a cute dad. I just need the like white New Balance shoes with the fresh grass stains.
And the wristwatch. Those are the only two accessories you're missing.
The wristwatch with the tan line because you don't take it off.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to add a little spice, the cell phone holster.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what? I really thought, I was like, I'm going to be like one of these Instagram, TikTok, cute women who like redo their house and they look so cute doing it, and it ain't me. I just turn into like your southern dad that
she
comes
turns
over
into Tim Allen.
Yeah. I even had to go to Lowe's. Thankfully not in like this full out. I put a flannel on and everything. Like,
you were Tim Allen.
Yeah.
In Home Improvement.
I channeled it. Yeah. And then after the debacle of the pencil skirt and heels, see guys, I swing. I swing very wildly.
She's a multi-dimensional lady, y'all.
I sent the video to Nick, and he was like, you should get a step stool with a string on it. So then, like, you can get up into the Jeep and then pull the step stool up. Like, that would work really well, actually.
It would, yeah.
So, I'm trying to get the house put together. I have one more work event this week, and I'm just slowly drowning. How are you?
You know.
You just had a far-off look in your eye.
I was thinking about my work days the past couple of weeks. We're hanging in there. I've been playing a lot of Skyrim. Nothing's really changed.
I believe in you. I love
you.
that for you. I love that you can just sit down and not do shit. I sit down, I feel like I start getting kind of twitchy. I'm like, I need to do something.
Sometimes I wish I had that motor because there's so many things I want to do and I cannot be asked to do anything. So I'm like, well, I guess if I'm going to sit here, I might as well feel productive and build a house and kill bandits and...
Yeah. I absolutely adore when you come over because it makes me sit the fuck down. And I actually get to, like, use my couch. It's so bad that the dogs will, like, if I sit on the couch during the day, they're concerned. They're smelling me. They're like, are you okay?
Are you sick, mama?
Are you dead? But, no, I just keep on trucking. And, maybe I can rub some of this energy off on you and you could, I don't know, knock down a wall while someone's gone. I've done it.
I think my landlord would be very upset if I just started knocking down walls in his house.
You could come knock down a wall here. I can pick one for you. I've thought about it about 1,000,000 times. I spend too much time here, I think.
You're like, I'm changing everything.
You know that meme or the video where I don't know what movie it's from, but she's like, if you do not let me gut this house, I'm going to hell and I'm going to drag you with me or something like that. I'm like, that's how I feel. Like, it's a perfectly fine house. I just need to change all of it.
That's us.
That's us. Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's a ship show. I run a tight ship, and it is the Vasa. Quickly sinking.
Well, people just watch from afar like, huh. Oh no.
But okay, well, I guess we could get into the skit. By the title, obviously this is our second week of Black History Month, so yay.
Yay.
I really wanted to do this one because upon the day that this one airs, it will be February the 13th, which is close enough to Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And it's a story about love.
Yeah.
And how it conquers.
Meh.
And their last names are the Lovings. So, I mean, how
perfect is that?
Literally perfect. So, let's do the skit. And, I don't know. Let's record this and maybe go eat some chocolate.
That sounds lovely.
A couple and their children are sitting by the phone, eagerly awaiting a call.
Mama, what's a court?
It's where judges make decisions, baby.
And what's a Supreme Court? That's where they add sour cream. No, that's a Supreme Taco, dummy.
Kids, be nice. This is very important and your mother is stressed.
Mama, what's a judge?
Oh, thank goodness.
Yes, Mrs. Loving. They have reached a verdict. They favored on your side, unanimously. You get to stay in Virginia.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cohen. Thank you. We won. We won?
We won.
We won!
We won.
We won! Yay!
We won!
Woo! Woo woo!
Oh, yay!
The case of Loving versus Virginia was the final push the United States needed to end laws banning interracial marriages. Their story is one of true love and triumph.
Aw, that gave me goosebumps.
I love it. And I've got four pictures of the family down here. And I mean, just look at this family.
Oh,
they're so sweet looking.
They're so
Okay.
cute. Like, these are so photogenic. Like, these are amazing pictures, too. Like,
I
look at
know.
them playing with dandelions. It's so sweet.
I know. I literally could just watch pictures and like videos of them all day because they are so sweet. But before we get into the lovings, let's set some groundwork and let's talk about interracial marriage laws up until this point in history. So we're going all the way back to 1664.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to need you to buckle up a little bit because you're going to be mad.
Fighting
I
mad.
was mad. Oh, I was mad. I was sitting at the poor coffee shop just like seething reading.
Oh, no.
I was like, oh. Okay, so just before we get all that, I know this is what I'm about to, all of the things I'm about to say is horrible. I don't agree with a damn bit of it. So know that.
Yeah.
So in 1664, Maryland passes the first British colonial law that banned marriages between white people and black people. And not only did it do that, because up until that point, it was not illegal. White women who had already married black men then had orders to be enslaved.
What?
So if you had already married a black man before 1664, you were now enslaved as well.
This whole institution is just so mind-boggling to me. I do not get it.
I don't either. So the legislation, this one specifically, apparently left two questions kind of unaddressed. So it drew no distinctions between enslaved and free black people. So if it was a free black person, then the white women were enslaved, but he's free. So it didn't draw any distinction between that.
Yeah, that's why I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
None at all. And it omitted marriages between white men who married black women. Yeah. But it didn't really stay like that for very long, because in 1691, less than 30 years later, the Commonwealth of Virginia banned all interracial marriages, threatening to exile white men and women who married black people or Native American people. And I'm going to read you this quote. It's a little lengthy, but I'm going to need you to help me kind of, because obviously it was written in 1691. I get the gist of it, but here we go. And be it further enacted that if any English woman being free shall have a bastard child by a, I'm going to say black person instead of words that are used.
Yeah.
She, or Native American, she pay the sum of 15 pounds sterling within 1 month after such child shall be born to the church wardens of the parish. And in default of such payment, she shall be taken into the possession of the said church wardens and disposed of for 5 years, and the said fine of 15 pounds or whatever the woman shall be disposed of for shall be paid 1/3 part to their majesties and 1/3 part to the use of the parish, and the other 1/3 part to the informer, and that such child be bound out as a servant by the said church warden until he or she shall attain the age of 30 years. And in case such English women that shall have such child be a servant, she shall be sold by the said church wardens after her time is expired that she ought by law serve her master for 5 years, and the money she shall be sold for divided as if before appointed, and the child to serve as aforesaid. So a woman has a child, obviously
Like out of wedlock or
out of wedlock
whatever.
and of a different race, and now she belongs to the church.
Yeah. And so does her child.
And she has to pay money.
Yeah. And if she can't pay the fine, then she's basically a slave for the church. And it's like the informer, like the person who rats out this woman that she has a biracial baby, like gets part of the money to rat her out. Like, is that what that means?
Yeah. 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 So when the Commonwealth of Virginia did that, Maryland liked it so much, they did it too.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That, there's no words to describe how how awful that is.
This was like one of the first things that I kind of wrote down and was like already just ready to punch somebody. So just a few years later, in 1705, Virginia expanded on this policy and gave massive fines to any minister who performs a marriage between a Native American or a black person and a white person. So, with half of that amount, which was 10,000 pounds.
Oh my God.
Going to the informant.
Wow. So they were really incentivizing, like, ratting out people who are getting married on the sly.
Yeah. If you rat them out, you get 5,000 pounds in 1705. That is crazy.
I'm looking that up. It may not even, like, have, like, a straight conversion, but
we'll do the best.
Okay. So there's no, like, pounds, so I'm just going to do $5,000.
Okay. We can see the at least percentage.
Oh my God. What? $5,000 in 1705 is worth $375,720.24 today.
That's a whole ass house.
Today. That money in 1705 you could just live the rest of your life on.
Oh my God.
So I'm sure people were very incentivized to rat out other people.
How horrible. And in 1725, Pennsylvania passed a law banning interracial marriage. But 55 years after Pennsylvania did that, they repealed it as a part of a bunch of different reforms they were doing. So it wasn't illegal in Pennsylvania for very long.
Okay.
And Pennsylvania intended to grant black people equal legal rights.
Well,
so
great.
They had great intentions. During the late 1800s, after, the Emancipation Proclamation and, those big changes where slavery is no longer a thing, we get into the real shitty Jim Crow era. And in the South. And during this time, Virginia and all of the South, it's not sugarcoated, all of the South, went to great lengths to classify the races. And this led to the very icky Racial Integrity Act in Virginia. And that said that in order to be quote-unquote white, you had to be quote-unquote 99% pure. So if you had, literally that's what it said, and I was like, ugh. But if you had, like, your great-great-great-grandmother was Native American, they'd be like, no.
You're not a white person.
Yeah. So that drove a distinction that would allow them to kind of hone down on those laws.
But, like, how are they even enforceable? Like, it's not, again, like, my brain cannot wrap around this kind of stuff.
I don't even have words. So in 1843, Massachusetts becomes the second state to repeal its this word fucks me. Miscegenation law.
Okay.
Miscegenation. There we go. I had to stare at it. Anti-miscegenation. That's what it's called. Holy shit, guys. My brain's not here.
Mm-hmm.
It is taken leave. So, in 1871, Republican Andrew King of Missouri proposed a U.S. constitutional amendment banning all of interracial marriages in every state throughout the country. It would be the first attempt. It did not go through.
Okay.
Thankfully. In 1883, in Pace versus Alabama, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously rules that state-level bans on interracial marriages do not violate the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
The plaintiffs, Tony Pace and Mary Cox, were arrested under Alabama's Sanction 4189, which reads, if any white person and any black person, or the descendant of any black person, to the third generation inclusive, though one ancestor of each generation was a white person, intermarry, or live in adultery or fornication with each other, each of them must, on conviction, be imprisoned in the penitentiary or sentenced to hard labor for the county for not less than 2 or no more than 7 years.
You know, as you're reading that, I'm still looking at these pictures of this family, and I'm just looking at these kids smiling and, like, just pure joy on their faces playing with flowers while you're reading about people literally being sentenced to hard labor.
Yeah.
For...
Where his head is in her lap, and there are so many pictures of them just, like, staring at each other, and just the way they look at each other.
Yeah.
It just... And these people are being sent to hard labor for loving somebody. It hurts. And they challenge this conviction. Justice Stephen Johnson Field said that Section 4189 applies the same punishment to both offenders regardless of race. This meant that it was not discriminatory and that even the punishment for violating it was the same for each offender, whether the person was white or black. The way people are justifying just being a hateful asshole is baffling. Absolutely baffling.
I just don't have words. Like, I'm I can't generate language right now.
I know.
I'm like trying to say things. I'm like, I can't. I'm just so...
This would be a good episode for us to record because I feel like a lot of this is just facial expressions.
Yeah. We're just like staring into space or just like heads in our hands and just like, what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, in 1912, Republican Seaborn Roddenberry of Georgia... What? I know. That's a name and a fucking half. He would go on to make the second attempt to revise the Constitution. It did not pass either.
Okay.
Small victories. So,
yeah.
In 1922, during the 20th century, the anti-Asian xenophobia started running rampant. And the Cable Act stripped the citizenship of any United States citizen who married an alien ineligible for citizenship. So if you married someone from another country that was, quote, not eligible for citizenship, they would take your citizenship too.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Which, under the system they had, primarily if you were ineligible for citizenship, typically that was Asian Americans.
Yeah.
That they were targeting with that.
Yeah, because typically you can look at someone who's from Asia and see that,
Yeah.
they're from Asia.
Yeah.
But you can't look at all white people and assume they're American.
Right. Right.
Or, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Traces of these, like, anti-Asian immigration laws stayed in place until the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965.
Ugh.
In 1928, Senator Coleman Blease of South Carolina, a KKK supporter,
Ugh.
who had previously served as South Carolina's governor, made the third and final attempt on the Constitution. Thankfully, it failed as well.
Good.
In 1964, McLaughlin versus Florida, which was the United States Supreme Court, unanimously ruled that the laws banning interracial relationships violate the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
But the ruling did not directly address laws banning interracial marriage. It just kind of laid the groundwork. So it didn't say
start changing your laws. It was just like,
it
yes,
just said,
these violate the Constitution.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was 1964. This led the groundwork to 1967, where all of it changed for good.
Okay.
Kind of. So, now that we got that out of the way.
Ugh.
Let's all
I mean,
take
important.
A collective breath.
Important context. Like, we have to know these things to understand, like,
right.
why these conversations are important and why we need to know these things and why this event is so important.
And why it was so hard to change. This is literally hundreds of years of prejudice and hate soaked into this community, especially in the South, because up until this point, a lot of, I think it was 24 states banned interracial marriages. By the time that they won the court case, 16 still banned. But, a good 2/3, it was legal. It was fine. But why, the South, like Jim Crow, of course.
Yeah.
But it was crazy. The documentary I watched was the most interesting documentary I think I've ever watched. I really didn't get a lot of new information because I did like the regular research first, and then I watched the documentary thinking I could get, a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't. But what I did get was videos of them actually, like, the lawyers talking to each other about this case in real time, like them young in 1960, whatever, talking about it, them talking to the Lovings interviews from back in the day, them hanging out with their kids and just being who they were. And it just made me, y'all should go watch that documentary. I will tell you the name of it at the end.
Yes, please do.
I think it's called The Loving Story. But it has their daughter in it as well, being interviewed. So let's take a second and talk about who the Lovings are. Who are these people? So Richard Loving was born October 29th of 1933 in Central Point, Virginia. That is Caroline County.
Okay.
He is of Irish and English descent, and he was a construction worker and a drag car racer. So he would...
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he was really cool. And the documentary did say that he was very well liked in both the black and white community, that he could go and just be in any situation, and everyone just thought he was a really cool person, like
Yeah.
a really nice guy.
Yeah. That's literally, it's like I was literally thinking, oh, he was just a really nice, cool guy.
It was just a really nice, cool guy. And
Yeah.
it was said that he had like a team and they would all race this one car. It was like 3 or 4 of them. And they ended up getting like 99 trophies with this car.
That's so cool.
And they like split them up between them. And they would like take the money from winning and they would just have to fix the car with the money that they earned from winning. And then it was like a weekly cycle of just breaking the car, fixing the car, breaking the car, fixing the car.
Oh, but that's so fun.
I know. But his entire team were black. And it was just kind of the way it was.
Yeah, they were just hanging out and being bros.
Yeah. And this community is a very small community in Virginia, was actually kind of known for, which was not normal at the time, or average at the time, it's mixing people hanging out together. So yes, the restaurants, gas stations, schools were segregated, but outside of that, people hung out with other people. Like they just kind of went about life. If you had a crop that needed harvesting and you needed extra help, you called on your neighbors. Didn't care who your neighbors were. Like you called on your neighbors. So it was a blended community as much as, 1930s, 40s, and 50s
could allow. Yeah.
Could be. So then we've got Mildred Jeter, and she was born July 22nd of 1939. So she is 6 years younger than Richard, and she too was born in Central Point, Virginia. And she is of African and Native American descent. And she was very kind of shy, soft-spoken. And this is hilarious. She was tall and skinny, and people nicknamed her String Bean.
Oh no!
But Richard shortened it and just called her Bean, like very affectionately.
That's so cute.
That's the cutest nickname I've ever heard. Hey, Bean.
Hey, Bean. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. So they grew up a couple miles away from each other. Of course, she was at an all-black school. He went to an all-white school. But when he was 17 and she was 11, hear me out they met.
Okay.
And so he would visit her home. And this community was very big on music. So people would bring instruments over. And so they started hanging out. Like the families kind of started hanging out. Mm-hmm. So then it took them a couple of years to, start building a relationship, a friendship. And she thought he was very arrogant at first, and she didn't like him at all. But I mean, she's 11 and he's 17.
Yeah.
And
like older boys like that are just going to seem like a lot, just a handful in general.
Absolutely. And so it took a couple years, but they started to build a relationship, and they really liked each other, and they would date on and off. Of course, when she was of an appropriate age. Mm-hmm. And then during this on and off time, she had a son from just a different a different relationship. So she did not marry the first father of her first child. And that child's name was Sidney Clay Jeter. Okay. And he was born January 27th of 1957. So they continued to build this relationship. And then she got pregnant by him at 18.
Okay.
So she was very young when she had Sydney. And they decided that they were going to get married.
Okay.
Now they live in Virginia, and it's illegal in Virginia to get married. What they didn't know was that it was also illegal to go out of state, get married, and then come back.
Yeah.
So On June the 2nd of 1958, they went to Washington, D.C., and they got married. And then came back. Donald Lindbergh Loving was born October 8th of 1958. So just know that what's about to happen, she is still pregnant with Donald.
Okay.
So July 11th of 1958, just, a little like 6 weeks after they got married, Sheriff Garnett Brooks and 2 deputies were acting on an anonymous tip that the Lovings were in violation of Virginia law. At 4 a.m, broke into their house while they slept and told them they were under arrest.
Oh my God.
Apparently, someone snitched. They never found out who snitched, but apparently someone did. And the sheriff asked Mildred who she was to Richard, and she said, "I'm his wife." And he said, "Not here, you're not." I know it sounds like I'm laughing, but I'm laughing in the nervous way where you want to hit someone.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not a funny thing. It's more of like my brain doesn't know what else to do, so I'm going to laugh.
Yes. So Richard ended up spending a night in jail. I did see another thing that said like a night or two.
Mm-hmm.
Not very long in jail. He was allowed to post bail. Apparently his bail was like $1,000.
Oh my God.
Which was so much. His sister was able to get him out. But then I guess it was the jail said that if they were to post her bail, they would arrest him and put him back in prison.
What?
Like, what the fuck? Oh. So, after, I think it was like 9 days that she had to stay in jail.
While pregnant? Like super pregnant?
Yes. Yeah, because this was July. They got married in June. So, well, maybe not super pregnant. I don't know how far along she was, but any amount of pregnant is not fun.
No.
In jail.
No.
What if she had really bad morning sickness? And she's just in like this one cell by herself with like a bed and a toilet.
Bless her heart.
Yeah. So bad. So they were able to get her out, but she had to go stay with her dad, and he had to go stay with his parents. So her dad was like responsible for her to make sure she got to the court on time. Like she was going to just like bounce on that or what. I don't know. The prejudice is pissing me off. Mm-hmm. So that was in July. On January the 6th, took that long, like 6 months. January 6th of 1959. So now they have a 2-year-old and a baby?
Yeah.
The Lovings were prosecuted and convicted of violating the state's, I'm not trying to say that word again, law. Mm-hmm. They eventually pleaded guilty for, quote, cohabitating as man and wife against the peace and dignity of the Commonwealth.
I'm gonna beat up the Commonwealth.
Fuck the Commonwealth.
Fisticuffs.
Just... I don't know why I thought nunchucks when you said that.
Nunchucks too. Let's get some nunchucks on the Commonwealth.
A samurai sword, like anything we can find. So they were sentenced to 1 year in jail. But that sentence was suspended, and the couple was ordered... It was suspended on the grounds of the couple leaving Virginia and not returning for 25 years.
What? Basically, get out of here. Like, leave our state.
They were kicked out of Virginia. They paid their court fees and relocated to Washington, D.C. The
I'm
way
just-
they... Go ahead. Yes,
I'm just
please.
so, like, they're not doing anything. Like, they're
No.
just... Like, they're just living in a house and having babies and just living their life. They're literally not hurting anyone.
They're existing.
They're just living. I'm so
living happily and in love, and they're in a healthy, loving relationship. Even the parents liked each other.
Yeah, I mean, this is a family that have been in the same community for years.
Mm-hmm. And it did in the documentary. I watched it like during the whole like court thing. They interviewed his mom, and his mom wasn't saying shit. And they were like, "How is it to, do you like the other family?" And she's like, "Yeah." Like very one word answers.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Did you ever tell them not to get married?" And she was like, "No." So they're like, "Do you like her?" "Yeah, I like her. I like him." Like, it's your own son. Yeah.
I like them both. They're fine people.
And she was like, and the reporter was like, "Well, how does it feel like to raise a son that kind of goes against what, you believe and like kind of change the status quo?" And she's like, "I don't know." She literally said, "I don't know."
How do you answer that?
I
don't blame her, because clearly she doesn't have those beliefs.
No, he's not doing anything against what I think.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah. Like, I don't blame her for saying, I don't know. Like, how do you answer that question?
Yeah, she's just like,
It's clearly like this reporter's trying to bait her or something, like...
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I think that's the best option, is just one word answers. If you don't want to be there, just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell them nothing.
Nope. So, the way they understood their banishing was that they can come and visit whenever they want to.
As long as they don't live there.
Right. So they came back on Easter, and they were arrested again.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So apparently they weren't allowed to come back together. Yeah. So
Like starting to angrily bite things.
I'm so
mad.
I need to break something. So occasionally they would come in separate return visits, but like they missed their family because they didn't want to live in Washington, D.C.
No. They want to be with their families.
Yes. And they would make trips back home together in secret. And it was real interesting. Apparently, if like they would go in secret, and then when they were visiting, he just wouldn't leave the house. So it just kind of made it look like that she was visiting, and he would just stay inside.
But again,
which is like no way to live.
That's no way to live.
No. So Peggy Loving, the youngest, was born in 1960. I don't know her specific birthday. I could not find it. But anyway. So Mildred hated Washington, D.C. She never really adapted to the city life. She grew up in a very, rural Virginia where her kids had room to like run and play and climb trees and just do
kid shit.
Things that kids do. Yeah, kid shit. And she didn't feel like she had the room in D.C.
Yeah.
And after a couple of years, Donald, the middle child, was hit by a car.
Oh, no.
He was fine. Apparently, he was just sitting in the road crying. He was fine, thankfully. But that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. She's like, my kids are not safe here. I cannot anymore. So her cousin, she was apparently bitching to her cousin, like, I don't know what to do. Her cousin was like, send a letter to Robert Kennedy, who was the attorney general at the time, and see what he says.
Yeah, because they didn't, the Kennedy family not that they were like, on the warpath for civil rights and stuff, but they had like generally some policies that were pro-civil rights, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So she was not involved at all with the civil rights movement up until this point. Mm-hmm. She was just trying to like
live her life.
Yeah. And she even said that in an interview. She was like, I just wanted to go home. Like, So I wrote this letter to Robert Kennedy on June the 20th of 1963. So they've already been living in Washington, D.C. for about 4 years at this point. A little over 4 years. So his office recommended that she get in touch with the American Civil Liberties Union. And 2 lawyers from the ACLU took on her case. So she wrote them. They were like, we got you. So we've got Bernard or Bernie Cohen and Philip J. Hirschkopf. And they took that case on and held it in a chokehold. I mean, they went hard on this case. So I really suggest at this point, because I am not a lawyer, I do not try to claim that I have the brain of a lawyer. I've had too many head injuries to understand the court system well. Truly. So I'm going to do the best I can. If you want more details, watch the documentary. Even if you just don't want to watch, like, everything we've talked about already, probably a good half to the last third is really just deep in the court cases. And they actually play recordings from some of the court things. So it's like really interesting. But okay. I'm going to give you a good overview. So they start with an appeal. And the way the court systems work, tell me if I'm wrong. If something has like this, you start with an appeal. You go to like appeals court of appeals, whatever it's called. And you work your way up.
Yeah.
So like if nothing happens at this level, you go to the next court level. So like you go local and then state and then federal and then supreme. Right?
Yeah, I think there's like districts somewhere in there. I'm not very familiar with that. But yes, like you start from the lower courts and you do work your way up to the Supreme Court.
So the first thing that they had to figure out is, how do you take a case that was over 5 years old and put it back into the system? Because any case that's older than 60 days in Virginia cannot be appealed. But they were able to find a loophole. And I think the loophole was something to do with like the fact that the sentencing was suspended.
Oh, okay.
Something about that made it to where they could readdress and appeal it. So I just have a note that was like, when they're going to court hearings, they're like holding hands.
Oh.
And he's like in protective husband stance. It's the cutest thing ever. I love it. I love love too. There's a lot of ups and downs in this episode.
There really is.
1 minute we're like love, and then we're like fighting. But we're fighting for love.
Fighting for love and the lovings.
The lovings. So, at this clip, after one of the hearings at the appeals and stuff, they said, she said in an interview they were just going to go back to Washington. But by this time, they were already secretly living back in Virginia. So, which actually caused a little bit of like a hiccup, because right after that clip, it showed a clip of them like outside a car. Why someone's recording this, I don't know, but I'm glad they did. But like the two attorneys are talking to the Lovings, and they're like, if you get arrested, call me. Have someone you know call me. I will get you out within an hour. You will be there 30 minutes tops. Like, I got you. And it's like the passion in these attorneys to make sure that their clients are taken care of is like unmatched. But that was like a real issue, but it's like trying to fight something in Virginia, but living in Washington D.C. in the 60s was
it's
a logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
So they needed to be close. So they were able eventually to work it out on a federal level that if they were to get arrested again, they would be able to just get out immediately. So I don't think they were ever arrested again. It kind of, if they have kind of immunity while the court is doing its thing, nobody's going to really want to do anything about it.
Right.
So during these proceedings, they kept asking Richard, like, why don't you just divorce her? It would be a lot easier. And he was like, no, that's my wife.
I love her.
I love her. I am not getting a divorce.
I have
just to
children
make it
with
easier.
her, and she's great.
Yeah. And the documentary did make a good point that he had no reason but love to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he walked away, nobody's going to do shit to him.
Right.
But he's like, I love her. And it just... it's worth fighting for. And they showed clips of people, I guess during this time, because it's a big case, they were asking people what they thought about segregation and about interracial marriage. And the things people were saying, I didn't write a single one down because they made me sick. Just walking up on the street and being like, what do you think about it? And to paraphrase, they're like, yeah, I think it's the right thing to do. We should just, nope, it's in my brain. I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
Nope, we'll not be doing that. So their first goal was to try to get the judge that said the ruling in the first place. Judge Leon M. Brazil, to just overturn it. I'm going to read this to y'all, and I'm very sorry, but this is what he had to say about that. Almighty God created the races, white, black, yellow, Malay, and red, and he placed them on separate continents. And but for the interference with this arrangement, there would be no cause for such marriages. The fact that he separated the races shows that he did not intend for the races to mix. I could not look at you when I said that. I'm like nauseous right now. Ugh! Your face said it all. I had to quit looking at you.
I cannot.
I know, I'm literally nauseous. I can't.
And what drives me insane is that, like, if you look at a map, a map of the world, and genetically people are sorted by their skin color, like where they are, like, come from ethnically in these certain areas on the world. It's all related to protection for their skin in relation to how much sun exposure they get. Like, people who are closer to the equator have darker skin to protect their sun from damage, and people farther away from the equator have lighter skin to allow for more sun absorption.
Yeah.
That's why we have different skin tones. It's evolutionary for
Science.
sun protection. Like that, I'm
Baffled.
I'm
Baffling.
so just like that's all it is. It's to help protect your body. Evolved in a certain way to protect yourself from sun exposure. And people are like, oh, they're put on different continents, so they were like, all the continents are connected. And you came over here.
And you came
You
over
came over
here.
here on boats. What the fuck? And it's like, oh, we cannot marry the Native Americans because they're a lesser. Like, you came over here to their land. Like, your argument has fallen apart, sir. Bezel or Bumble or whatever your name is.
Brazzle.
Brazzle. I don't care.
It looks like Brazil, which is even funnier. It's like Brazil. Okay. I hate this dude.
Oh, I'm all heated.
I know. Morgan's sweating. She's so mad.
Oh, I'm gonna like start chewing through like my furniture in a second.
Oh my god. So, the ruling was upheld in the Court of Appeals, unfortunately. And the Commonwealth of Virginia asserted that its ban on interracial marriages were in place to avoid a host of resulting sociological ills, and that the law was not in violation of the 14th Amendment. I'm just so
I can't even say without laughing. Sociological ills?
yeah, ills.
What? What is that? What does that even mean?
They were scandalized by the
We
thought of...
don't like it. That's what I hear.
Literally. Ew. Like, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my god. People love each other for who they are. So, the Lovings legal team argued that the state law ran counter to the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. So it violated it because it forbade interracial couples to marry solely on the basis of their race.
Yes.
So it continued to go higher and higher and higher in the courts until it eventually got to the Supreme Court. And now, remember, this is taking years to get through.
Mm-hmm.
So the Supreme Court, they said back then, took only one out of about 400 cases. And they were granted a review. And they spent, like, so much time writing the best, like, briefing possible. So, apparently when they picked up this case, Hirschkup was only out of law school for 2 years.
Wow.
Like, he was fresh. And they were so young and adorable attorneys that, like, but still, they were, like, kicking ass. They were talking about things. I was like, I don't even know what you're saying, but yes. And
Aww.
they gathered everything. They put everything together, and they went before the Supreme Court and argued their case. And it was case number 395. And they played something. It's wild. You should listen to it. On average, it takes about, or at least back then, it took 60 to 100 days to hear back from the Supreme Court on if they're going to, you know, actually go through with it.
Yeah.
And they got called on June the 11th of 1967, saying that the ruling was going to be the next day.
Wow.
And they asked Richard and Mildred if they wanted to come and be present. And Richard was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
And Mildred was like, I don't, and I'm not going without him, so no. So they asked Richard, they're like, is there anything you would like to say to the court on your behalf? And he said, quote, tell the court I love my wife and it is just unfair that I can't live with her in Virginia. That's all he said.
That's all you need to say, because that's the whole point.
I
love my wife, and I want to live in our home.
Yeah.
That's it.
The Virginia law, the next day, June 12th of 1967, unanimously struck down. Was unanimously struck down. So they were legally able to stay in their home. Yay. They would, like, build a house on the land her dad gave them.
Yay.
And the court said that anti-miscegenation... No, I'm not saying it again. I'm not doing it. That those laws violated both the Equal Protection Clause and the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. So Chief Justice Earl Warren wrote this opinion for the court. Quote, there is patently no legitimate overriding purpose independent of... This dude is smart. Okay, let me try that again. There is patently no legitimate overriding purpose independent of invidious racial discrimination which justifies this classification. The fact that Virginia prohibits only interracial marriages involving white persons demonstrates that the racial classifications must stand on their own justification as measured, designed to maintain white supremacy.
You know what?
Freedom...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just I was just thinking, I've been thinking about this whole time, like, it's only between, like, white persons and people of color, not between, like, different, quote-unquote, races of, like, different, like, Asians.
Absolutely.
And Black people and Chinese people, or I said Asians already, sorry. Native Americans, etc. Like, nothing but between, like, those people marrying. It's only with white people.
It's only a problem if it's white people involved.
Yeah.
So, the freedom to marry has long been recognized as one of the vital personal rights essential to the orderly pursuit of happiness by free men. To deny this fundamental freedom on so unsupportable a bias as the racial classifications embodied in these statutes, classifications so directly subversive of the principle of equality at the heart of the 14th Amendment, is surely to deprive all the state's citizens of liberty without due process of law. I'm sure he said it way more eloquently, too. So, this forced 16 states which still had these laws in place to erase them off their books. So some of these changes happened immediately, and some of them happened very slowly. So one good thing, 3 months after this case, Storybook Children, sung by Billy Vera and Judy Clay, became the first romantic interracial duet to chart in the U.S.
Aww.
Yes. Okay, so some of these states were very hesitant to change.
Right.
And they fought it. Mm-hmm. And they fought it for years. So I think most of those 16 were like, okay, you got me. It's legal now.
Yeah,
right?
Federal standing, sure.
Yeah. So Florida didn't accept it until 1969.
Okay.
Mississippi, 1987. South Carolina, 1998.
Whoa, what?
And the final, Alabama, in 2000.
So it was illegal for a white person to be in a marriage or whatever with a person of color until 2000 in Alabama.
Yeah. 25 years. That's it. That it's been legal in Alabama. Now, I'm sure if they had gone to, people had gone to court and stuff like that, it would have been like fought and stuff, but not everybody has the means to do that.
Yeah, especially not in Alabama, unfortunately.
Yeah. And they were claiming that they were like state right, even though
you're infringing on the rights of your citizens.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you mean state rights?
Uh-huh. The Supreme Court ruled that they couldn't use state right as as an excuse.
No.
Because it's a federal law.
Yeah.
But they were fighting it, and even when they voted in 2000 to get this overturned, it was like 41% still voted for the
What?
laws. Yeah. Crazy. And there were lots of cases where even in 2009, and there was somebody who refused to officiate a civil wedding for an interracial couple, and they got sued.
Yeah, they should have.
Sued, and then they resigned. And in 2019, a Virginia law required partners to declare their race on marriage applications up until 2019. Then it was challenged in court, and then they were like, oh, well, it can be optional now. But then that October, they were like, no, that's unconstitutional. That does not.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Like,
No.
Why would that have to be on a marriage license?
Do you want to hear some bullshit? Louisiana and Kentucky still require couples to declare their racial background before applying, and they cannot get it until they put that on there.
So, this is the thing, I understand, demographics, you need to have that information. Census data, sure. Let's see how many of whatever, any kind of ethnic group or racial group live in a certain area for purposes. I get that. And, I'm in schools, and we need to understand what our populations look like. But also, in this world, there are people who are multiracial.
Yep.
So, if you are multiracial, but you have to declare a racial background, what do you put?
Many? I don't know.
You just check whichever ones you are, I guess. Because I know there are some places that
all
allow
of the
that,
above.
but
I don't know.
I just I don't get that.
And it serves no purpose other than being hateful. It doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter.
Fucking matter. Also, in 2016, Mississippi passed a law to protect the, quote, sincerely held religious beliefs or moral convictions. Then on September of 2019, a wedding venue owner in Mississippi refused to allow a mixed race wedding to take place on the venue, claiming it was against her Christian beliefs.
What?
So, social media, had at this lady. And, she consulted with her pastor and then apologized to the couple.
That's not who I really am. That's what they all say.
That's all you get? Was it a fucking apology?
Oh, I'm sorry. I try to use my religion to justify my hate and my bigotry. That doesn't even make sense.
No.
Because Jesus wasn't white. I'm sorry. He was not. I don't get that. I am a Christian, so I hate people of color.
I don't get how it's so important that someone was just kind of born the way they're born. Nobody picks it.
No.
You just appear one day.
I didn't ask for this.
No. No more than people ask for bad vision or crooked teeth.
Or their hair pattern or heart issues or Lactose
Just
intolerance. I mean...
I want cheese again, damn it. I want real coffee creamer sometimes. I didn't ask for that. Okay, so we're going to back it up just a little bit. Let's wrap up the family here. So, on June 29th of 1975, so just, 8 years after the ruling, Richard and Mildred were on their way home on a Saturday night and were unfortunately hit by a drunk driver.
No.
Richard died.
No.
And Mildred lost sight in her right eye, but she lived. I know.
Oh my God, I'm like literally welling up with tears right now. They went through... Okay, I'm really starting to cry. Oh my God, they went through all of... Oh, I was not prepared for that. Oh my God.
Poor Mildred went through all of that and now has these 3 kids to continue to raise.
Died. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, the youngest was 15, but still, I mean, your dad died at 15. They were like 15, 17, and like 19, something like that.
Oh my God. I'm like legit crying. I literally, when you said that, I had like the coldest feeling go through my entire body. Like, that is so sad.
Yeah.
They went through all of that and they could finally live happily ever after and he died. No! Oh, I'm so sad. Oh. Okay, you can keep talking.
Okay.
I'm just gonna cry.
Okay, you should. Mildred did her best to kind of put everything behind her. Because remember, she was just a very soft-spoken person and wasn't, she's just trying to live, damn it. And she refused most interviews, didn't want to talk about it.
Oh.
And she did say in a 1992 interview that what happened, we really didn't intend for it to happen. What we wanted to come home. She's crying again. So sorry.
Oh.
I threw you a curveball. I'm so sorry.
Devastating. Heart-wrenching. Debilitating.
This is one of our most emotional roller coasters
It
of an episode
really
ever.
is. Oh my God.
So, Mildred passed away from pneumonia on May the 2nd of 2008. So, she lived to be 68 years old.
She had so many years without Richard. Oh.
I know. I did the math too. And I was like, that's too long. She never remarried.
I'm like literally holding my breath in protest.
What's really sad is Donald, the middle child, he passed away in 2000 at the age of 41. So before she died, and then just 2 years after she died, Sydney, the oldest son, died in 2010 at 53.
Oh no.
I could not find any cause of death or anything, so it seems very private of what happened.
Yeah.
But Peggy is still, she's still alive. She is the only surviving child, and she has 3 children of her own too. Peggy. And she's very involved in, like, she was, interviewed in the documentary, and she's very involved in pushing their story and telling the story of her parents. And there's little pictures of little Peggy.
I've literally been staring at these pictures like the entire time, like the one of them with the flowers and just these big cheesy smiles, and Peggy's looking up at Sydney with just like
It's my big brother. Yes.
It's the cutest picture.
So there is an unofficial holiday, so we've got continued celebration honoring the Loving's triumph, called Loving Day.
Aww.
And it's celebrated on June the 12th. And there's multiple movies and documentaries and books, and there's even a kid's book, which is really cute. I kind of want to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So The Loving Story, which was the documentary I watched, was released in 2011. And it was really good. And they actually, I do remember they did a biopic in 2016 is what this says, where they, it's less documentary style.
Yeah.
More,
Isn't it
movie.
like The House That Loving Built or something?
I think it's just called Loving.
Okay.
But it was nominated for a Golden Globe and 2 Academy Awards. Let's see.
I remember around that time a movie coming out about the Loving family.
Yeah, it's just called Loving.
Okay.
Yeah. But I want to see it. I didn't get a chance to watch that. I did want to watch it beforehand, but I didn't get a chance. But I want to watch it. And that's it. That's
Thank you for covering this. This was so important. But
Yes.
Oh my God.
just angry and triumph and love and sadness, but mostly the triumph and the fact that I think it speaks volumes that they didn't go out looking for this. Not that if you are looking for big change like this, it's a bad thing. Absolutely, that's not what I'm saying. But it's just like they were just close-knit. They wanted to keep, their heart close to them, and that their love, and they were just like, we will do whatever we can. All we're trying to do is get home. That's all we want to do is get home. And they ended up this snowball effect of causing this big change that changed so many people's lives and gave opportunity for people that wouldn't have.
Yeah, to just marry who they love or just be with other people, because like it sounds like is even like casual, like non-romantic pairings were illegal, which
oh yeah, I mean, when they busted down their door, they would have been just as mad had she not been married to him and she's sleeping in his bed.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it did that. The marriage label is not what mattered here. It was their skin color that mattered, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for covering this. You did a really good job. And thank you for my absolute crushing heartbreak. You've taken 10 years off of my life. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Please, let's find a way to put those 10 years back on.
I think next week's episode will do that because it's a pretty, it's very similar, where we're going to talk about the Supreme Court. Chief Justice Earl Warren comes back.
Oh, hey!
This is actually
we're syncing up again.
My story is very early in his career. And this landmark case, the Supreme Court decision, takes place 4 months before the topic of my next episode becomes a Supreme Court justice.
No way.
Yeah. Because I was doing the math. I was like, wait, 1967. Oh, that's only like 4 months before.
Well, this is fun. We've synced.
We are very closely aligned, and it's about something very similar along these lines. So
yeah,
I'm really excited. It actually has researching that story has given me a lot of hope just in general. So
that's good. Well, let's do socials.
Let's do socials.
Yeah. So if you like this and you want to see more of us, you can find us on Facebook. It's a group and page.
Ill-Equipped History podcast group and page. I went through 65 different options. You witnessed the Rolodex going through my brain. Click, 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 click.
You got really still. That was your thinking face. So, and Instagram.
At illequippedhistory.
You can talk to us on Gmail.
illequippedhistory@gmail.com.
I said that really weird.
At Gmail.
TikTok.
At illequippedhistory.
And Patreon.
Patreon.com/illequippedhistory.
Where this month's episode is The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
And
it's super
Wicked.
fun.
Yeah, it was a crazy one, so you guys don't want to miss that.
Yeah, it's super cute and also horrifying. So it's another roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that everybody has a wonderful Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you don't have a honey,
Find a honey.
I was gonna say treat yourself. Treat yourself to a different honey. Okay, I'm not promoting a one night stand, but if you want to, then you know what? That's your prerogative.
That is your business and no one else's, especially not the government's.
Exactly. Especially not the government's. But if you don't want to go down that route, you wait until a crisp February 15th and you go get some discount fucking chocolate.
Yes.
And you get discount teddy bears and you treat yourself and you buy all the flowers and, you do you.
Yes.
And if you want to pay full price for it, do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fight the crowds. Getting the chocolate.
Actually, if you could listen to this episode and get really fired up to fight someone and then go into Walmart and fight all the significant others that waited too long. Someone needs to record this though.
Chocolate. What is that chocolate? I always hated it. Couldn't resist.
Perfect. Oh my god. Okay, well we're gonna
head out.
Yeah,
Happy
we're getting
Valentine's Day. And
loopy. Happy Valentine's Day. I don't even know what we're gonna do, but it's gonna be something.
In 2 days, I leave for Seattle, so that's what I'll be doing.
A friend and mine have a date for that morning to go thrifting.
Oh, that sounds so fun. Little Galentine's Day.
A little Galentine's thrifting day. We're going to hit up the Goodwill, which we have started calling Grand William to make it sound bougier. So we saw it on a TikTok and we were like adopting that.
You have to go to Grand William and Target.
Grand William. I got a full, really cute outfit the other day. I know I'm getting so off the rails. We're trying to say bye, but I got a full outfit and I sent it to her and she said, "How dare you send me pictures of Grand William knowing I'm at work and I can't go right now?" It's like, well,
love that.
that's where I got that pencil skirt.
Cute.
Hell yeah. Cute. Okay, we have to go.
Yes,
we're
we
going to
do.
let you go now.
Okay, bye.